Let me start off by saying good afternoon to the Chargé d'Affaires Leila Moses Onesh from the U.S. Embassy in Belize, the Chargé d'Affaires Shante Moore of the U.S. Embassy in Trinidad and Tobago, Honorable Dr. Louis Zabanet, the Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Culture, Science, and Technology in Belize, Honorable Lisa Morris Julian, Minister of State in the Ministry of Education in Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Shamir Sadler, the founder and CEO of SmartTerm, Ms. Jamie Hoyt, the Director of SmartTerm Limited, Ms. Kiran Maharaj, the President of the Media Institute of the Caribbean and also an implementing partner, to all the Fact Check participants and other invited guests. Pleasant good afternoon from Belize. It is such a pleasure to be joining all of you at this event. Interestingly, I spent most of last week at the CARICOM Intersessional meeting in Belize, where one of the predominant themes was the strength we in the Caribbean have in our unity through regional integration and collaboration. And here we are, Belizeans and Trinbagonians, bookends of the Caribbean Sea, united for the noblest of causes, equipping our youths with the tools to filter misinformation and disinformation. And I appreciate the previous speakers distinguishing between the two and not just use the blanket term fake news, which I have found in my industry to be a term generally used for false news and for truths we don't like. But let me speak to the guests of honor today. And that's the group of participants, to our young people here. Let me start off by saying thank you for taking the time and interest to apply for these sessions. I know for sure that all of you are early birds because the organizers told us that the program was filled before the deadline. You are our hope, our volunteer frontline defenders. And I hope that the sessions in the coming days meet your expectations and strengthen your resolve in pursuing truth. Media literacy has become a foundational skill for today's generation. Globally, online content consumption is estimated to be 6 to 7 hours daily. And don't worry, I won't ask you to share your screen time analytics, but just imagine during this time that we engage in front of our screens, we're bombarded by articles, videos, infographics, and even memes telling us stories and trying to capture our attention. Some of us try to exercise control and step away from the computer and put down the phone, but then get notified on our watches. That is how hyper-connected we are. And if we're to be honest, impatient as well to get information. But this information overload can pose a significant threat. Let's use the example of Googling. One Google search and we have instant access to millions of results. And the best and worst part is you can find exactly what it is you're looking for. We saw this in the pandemic as people searched for reasons to get vaccinated and reasons not to get vaccinated. And let's look at something less consequential. If you look for health benefits of milk versus side effects of milk, you enter a minefield of information, and depending on what you search for, you can find the validation you needed to reinforce pre-existing biases and beliefs. Now, when you add modern technology and algorithms that advise our digital networks to connect us with like-minded people. Now, this isn't always bad. This is an opportunity sometimes for you to expand your network if you're a sports lover or fashionista, an advocate like yourselves. But the harm comes when you're connected with people who validate your belief in misinformation. This is why distinguishing the facts from biased and purposefully misleading sources is as urgent as it is important. As for fake news, it's not as easy as we're often told, think before you click. Studies show that people are more susceptible to fake news in video format than text forms of the same story. It is the human instinct to believe what we see. But in this era where photo and video apps are built into our mobile devices, and artificial intelligence makes the creation of deepfakes so real, they're almost indistinguishable from reality, that so many fall victims and share with friends and families and social networks. But even if unintentional, there are real world consequences to the spread of false information. We are already witnessing the undermining of trust in science, in the independent and established media. We see the inciting of violence, the threatening of democratic systems, and the creation of platforms for harmful conspiracy theories and hate speech. Daily, we are all exposed to misinformation, and that makes us all vulnerable to the risks of fake news. But we can and must challenge and counter its flow. Learning smart media consumption can help us navigate information overload. And we need not look further than to the foundational teachings from our school days: critical thinking. Programs like these provide our youths, you, the next generation of our leaders and truth seekers, with the tools to distinguish fact from opinions and genuine information from lies. In this era of misinformation and disinformation, media literacy is now a survival skill for 21st century living. Today, through the start of this project, we start to lay the foundation.